I'm gonna get myself a brush, and I'm gonna first, when I set up the landscape, I am going to make a gestural sketch to kind of find the dynamic and the, the essential rhythms of the textures of the nature that I see in front of me. Um, I can kind of like throw this camera towards when I'm painting. I'm painting that coconut tree and another coconut of another palm tree that's to the right of it, and the green foliage around it and beside it. So let's see if I have this. Uh, well, let's just hope that it aims onto there. What I'm going to use for my sketch is my old dirty turpentines. It functions as an ink, so it's going to be like an ink drawing. First line on a painting is always the most important line because it establishes the scale. It really establishes the composition. In a landscape painting, it's the position of the second palm tree, and then there's this giant oak tree that's going to run about here. Okay, now before I go any further, I'll take a look at it because the composition here is established. So I want to make sure it's fine. A little bit more before I'm going to change my strategy. Get a little bit more of the dense area over here. Some of this yellow that I get on my brush to stick some of this foliage from the strangler fig. And some of the drips in the process. It's the next step in my painting to like plot some of the value. I'm kind of making a value composition, the composition and value now. The sketch is there, and I have like two jars of turpentine here, a clean jar and a dirty jar. The dirty jar was the ink where I made my initial painting with, and the clean jar is for clearly when I need clean colors. I won't need that for a little while yet, so I'm going to pick up some of the darkest values. Of course, values it's very relative. The coconut tree up here in the painting appears very dark just because it's set against the clear blue sky, so it's going to be very dark. And this is the area where the coconuts sit. Still using a pretty big brush too, like smaller brushes that come later on. So with every step of the painting, I'll get a little bit more into the details. So hopefully, as you will see, over the next hours of filming this, it's going to take me a few days to make this painting, this kind of scale. You will see that the image slowly will appear. So like I said, I'm going to point out with purple some of the darkest areas in this situation, and then to come to a certain like value composition. Like I said, the line composition is here, and now I'm going to make a value composition. It's still not super dark, because also the purple, the contrasting color with complementary color of the yellow, it's going to mix in with the still wet yellow background, and yellow mixed with purple creates actually a really beautiful brown color. So another reason why this is all dark here, why I choose to start with purple. All the while I'm still continuing to not work on small areas, but continue to go all over the place to maintain a certain uniformity in the painting. It's a balance. Also, little by little in this process, I'm shifting from a drawing style to a painting style, meaning I'm not painting just lines anymore. I'm painting also shapes, volumes. Bit of shadow here. Pick it up where I left off. I mentioned I was going to use white to get some of the light in, but before I take any more steps forward, I'm going to take a few steps back because I need to get the sky in lower than I have it. I have here the separation between the foliage in the background and the sky up here. The sky comes in a little further into the landscape, especially in this area here, where there's like a hole in the foliage, and I think it'd be nicer to get some sky back in there. So it makes it also a little bit more dynamic, so that this line is not straight. And I have my palette set up. I put a little bit of my cerulean blue that I typically use for sky color. It's a good sky color, cerulean blue mixed with white. I have also, it's a little breezy today, so I put a little clamp on my painting, because when I set it up first it blew over, so there's a clamp to hold it down, so it's stuck on its easel now. I'm not going to start with the cerulean blue quite yet. I'll first take a pure white and I'll mix in the blue wet and wet. There is also in this situation a palm tree like that is right in the foreground that partially blocks my view of the whole scene, and I may just stick that in, this giant trunk, and that may be a nice compositionally interesting line. Run about there. I may just do that, but not until after I put the sky back in. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get the blue, and I'm going to see if I can blend this sky that I just put back in and blend it to the sky that I already had. Time to step back again. All right. um, Next is I'm gonna indeed put that palm tree that's right in the foreground, where I'm actually sitting in the sun of it right now. I'm gonna stick that in just to see. I'm gonna do it lightly with white, just to see if I like the composition of it, and then I can put it in for real later on. It's gonna come over there. Take a look at it. Okay, it's time to also paint like. Alright, it's a different painting suddenly. Yeah. Alright, that's a good point to stop. So, me, that's nothing, huh? Alright, I'm gonna leave this for a day, and I'm gonna let it dry, and then tomorrow it's a whole new game, starting putting the musicians on, and I'll give a nice introduction and tell something about the conceptual aspects of the painting, and so this is the landscape then. I still may like touch it up here and there, but it's not gonna be much. This is really what it is, huh? I think it's alright, and I can see already the musicians coming there. I'll sit in the picture. So it's a beautiful morning, fresh and cool. The sun is up. 7:30 a.m. on Monday. Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Tuesday morning. Finished this painting yesterday, and it's near dry, so it's time to do the second part of the painting. As I have been announcing, I'll put the John Coltrane combo on top of it, and the Coltrane painting, it's gonna represent the first painting of the new Top 100, a series that I've been working on for many years, and I've finished a month ago the Top 100 2012, so it's time to start the Top 100 2013. And I'm starting with this big canvas. It's probably the only one for the new Top 100 that's going to be that big. But the first is Coltrane with his combo, and I am using a picture of Coltrane by F. Windham, made by F. Windham, and it's this picture right here. So you can kind of see right now how it's going to be. So there's Coltrane and Farrar Saunders, Rashid Ali, and here's Jimmy Garrison, and they're going to go nicely in line on that painting. So comes from this book, Jazz Heroes, John Fordham, and I've painted this picture many times. So it's a nice landscape that I did there, but I'm not at all hesitant about like covering up with musicians. So the landscape painting is just a landscape painting, and it's not part of my body of work, which is all like having to do with these musicians. It's a concept that's really a non-concept. It's something that just happened over the years that I've been making these series of musicians, and I've been, it's been my the major thing, the only thing really that I've been seriously working on. for the past like 25 years. So and you know, painting these figures on it, it's not really that different from painting the landscape. It's all painting, and it's all, you know, oil on canvas, and it's all the same processes. So I'm gonna start sketching these four musicians onto this painting here pretty soon. Scale is like the first thing I'm concerned with, because they can be, you know, I could make them this small here and here and here, but I could make them also this tall by, well, then I should like put their feet up like higher, because if I project, say, the tallest person here for Roy Saunders, if I project him, he would be coming, if he be standing right here, he would be coming to here. So, because this is about 6 feet projected, but I'm making them a little bigger, so I'm just bring them a little closer to me, as it were. So if I place him with his feet here, he'd be approximately 10 feet in front of this bush, and he'd be about this big, which is, I think, nicer. Set Coltrane right here. So so I'll get started with that, and it's this painting is I'm going to exhibit this painting at my Top 100 2012 show, May 25th, at the WDNA gallery, Jazz Gallery. It's in Miami. It's the 88.9 Sirius Jazz. So I'm without further ado, I'm gonna get started. I'll talk my way through this setup. So I'm gonna turn my back to the camera, so the camera is showing the painting instead of me, and turning my palette so that white. Oh, again, I didn't bring my turp, so I have to get that. So I've been using turpentine as my medium, but I'm gonna add liquid to it, to the mix. Liquid has a little bit of like a gloss to it. It looks like the paint kind of looks wet after it dries even, and it also has the advantage of it drying fairly quickly, and it's also a bit more transparent. So I'm going to use that together with my turpentines. I'm using the clean turpentines for now, with just sketching out the figures in white, and you know, it's almost like as if I'm starting a new painting. Like all the very same issues are at play. For instance, like the first brush stroke I make is completely going to determine the scale, the position of the figures into the space. So I have to like plan it very carefully. I really have to envision how the musicians are in this landscape, and I have to take a step back before I even start, because this is and of course it's unavoidable that I have to you know, make mistakes in the setup. So that means at the end of the painting, then I'm gonna have to go back into the landscape and fix up the landscape where like error marks, paint marks are from like painting figures, and also you know, depending on how how the painting appears after the musicians are on, I may have to make adjustments to the landscape to make it conform. Feet, feet. Stage for the drum. I'll paint in a little stage. Why not? It's gonna be running here, covering up this stage with his feet. Garrison's feet. It's also, the perspective is a little different because the horizon line in this landscape sits about here, and in the photograph the perspective is like much lower, it's taken from the audience. So I am make up for that a little bit by changing a bit the position of the feet, so it appears as if I'm, just raising the eye level a bit. Um, so, um, and there, D, and then the bass being. There's the bass. And as with the landscape drawing, in which I started out with a gestural sketch, the same is going to happen with these musicians. I'm making a gestural sketch. The bass, I guess, is a good point to start with because it's a big form and it functions as a spatial proportional measuring tool kind of thing. Yeah, measuring device, scale establisher. So here's the bass approximately. Everything, of course, is approximately. And then his head is over here and not here. So there. And take a look. That's okay. Okay, back to Coltrane then. A very relaxed pose. What I like about this Coltrane photo, it's very late in his career, 66 or 67, and Coltrane died of I think he had like kidney cancer or something. He was only 40 years old in 67, and so this is towards the end of his life, and he had at the time really kind of abandoned jazz, um, not traditions. I mean, it's still in the jazz tradition, but he kind of like um, achieved like a freedom from those jazz traditions that he's in, and completely went his own way. Is also his earlier photos of him performing. He's always in a suit, and here towards the end of his career, he's much more casual. He looks very relaxed here. Okay, now let's see. Back to the drummer. Again, looking at negative spaces here. Like a cymbal being here. His arm still goes over here. Yeah. And sax. Bit skinnier. His head is over here. Right there. This whole area is going to be filled with his drum kit, so it's all going to be obscured. And so the stage too. Right now the stage and the drum podium I'm looking at is seen like straight on, so I have to tilt it a little bit. So I'm looking up it a little bit just to stick with my horizon line being here. So that's important that I do that. Here. This he changes a little bit. Garrison comes in a little bit to the right of where I had him before. Stick his head over there. There, so I'm looking at the gesture right now, and I probably am exaggerating the dynamic a little bit. To get the action part of the performance really in there. That's important to do right now. That's very hard to have like elements like that. You cannot really achieve that later on. That has to get in there. Shifting the bass a little bit downwards and to the right from where I originally had it. Not much, but just means that I have to work the background. Setting him up over there. Okay. So there's the initial sketch of the combo. Let's see. Painting, drawing, and it's amazing. Like when you just like quickly like set up something without like thinking about it and just doing it. Like how things end up like really like in the right place. Also, Coltrane's head is back down for where I initially had it too. It's the proof point, I guess. The one thing I'm not reproducing from the photograph, besides the background, because I got my own background, is all the references to this like electrical sound, all the microphones, chords, all that. I'm leaving out. I'm like without planning it. There's a little bit of a light purple color showing up just because on the palette there happened to be this purple left over from yesterday. So I'm just things happen by chance a lot in the painting, more than you would think. You know, there's a lot of planning. Like the success of a painting is really depending on a bunch of factors that you don't control, that are spontaneous. And for a good painting, it's important that you learn to value that. It's like creeping. Jimmy Garrison is creeping to the right, leaving more. I didn't really want that, but well, it happens, and somehow I guess it's supposed to happen. So let's see. It's like a whole inch further to the right. That's where I initially had placed them. And I may have to come up with a device to deal with that, because I kind of wanted to have him like go off the page a little bit. Maybe I'll stick the piano in there as a little bit of a tribute to Alice Coltrane, who's missing from the painting. I may just do that. And maybe I can get like there, the grand piano, with the lid of it over here. Let's see. I'm continuing to do this gestural sketch, really until I have the feeling that it's like precisely as I want it. Because later on, once you start painting, it's going to be so hard to make adjustments. It's another thing that, especially with like drawing drummers, you see so little of the body because it's all behind their instruments. But you kind of have to just like know the anatomy and proportions. So I'm painting in this leg here that I don't even see, but that leg, it you know, it shows me if the figure is right proportionally, if it's like, you know, that. Um, I'm using this as like a measuring tool because I just know from experience of painting figures, just know that I have to get my verticals right, because the worst thing you can have with like drawing these standing figures, if it feels like stepping. So it's balance. It's also a very important part of gesture drawing. Ah, there they come. It's okay. Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, here's the first initial sketch. Here's the jazz combo. Oh my god, I made a jazz painting. Hi, I'm back. Pick it up where I left off 2 hours ago. I situated myself inside the studio now. It's just a bit more comfortable compared to sitting in the sun. So, well, pick it right back up. I have to, you know, it's um, I'm using a very similar palette as I use for the background, so it's not going to be like, you know, a total different painting. Also, the marks, the painting technique, it's going to be somewhat like similar to what the landscape was. bring the painting inside the house. So I have a whole day to look at it and get familiar with it. If there's anything that I need to change, probably find that out tonight. Clean my brushes real good.